Hey, what's up guys? Hope everyone's doing great. It looks like Netflix may have started a new trend by releasing a relatively well-known film with no marketing just after the Super Bowl to give everybody something to watch besides This Is Us and Jimmy Fallon, so I watched it. Now let's talk about it. Besides being a film that releases its first trailer only a few hours before its release, this film has had an interesting journey to its final release. It was a film that Paramount had put about $40 million into. J Abrams was in talks to work on the project. He had a lot of things he wanted to change. The studio knew that was just going to be more money. It was then reported that a head of the studio watched the film and that it wasn't deemed as being theater-worthy, to paraphrase, so in an interesting move, Paramount just shifted the movie over to Netflix for a small platform release. But it was a surprising move because the Cloverfield movies have amassed a following over the years, but it just kind of subconsciously told me that without a theatrical release, it's probably hovering along the lines of a B movie. That's not a bad thing. There's lots of good B movies out there, so I went into this one with an open mind. So let's get into this review. Now it's going to contain some spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go do so and then come back. First, I will say this movie was two things right off the top. It was an entertaining science fiction movie, and it was the perfect film for a Netflix release. I do think it could have delivered a solid theatrical experience, but as a Netflix or simply a streaming service in general, it definitely placed itself amongst the solid titles because it was a good time. So let's get into the positives with this movie. I enjoyed the cast as a whole. Gugu and Mbatha-Raw delivered an endearing performance that will just naturally make you gravitate to her character. She's strong, she's intelligent, and in this story, she's really faced to make a lot of unthinkable decisions, and I thought she hit every emotional note perfectly. David Oyelowo and John Ortiz were both serviceable. They poured enough effort into their very formulaic characters to add some substance to them. I think you could say the same about Zhang Ziyi, Daniel Bruhl, and Elizabeth Debicki. It was all a case of good performances, taking simple character material and making as much out of it as they could. But they were still just disposable characters that are going to have a short lifespan, and I really did enjoy the comic relief from Chris O'Dowd. I thought his timing was solid. He was able to hit a lot of the moments that the film intended. He had a natural, great sense of humor, and he had a lot of charm to his character, and he was effectively able to add a lot of doses of situational humor to the weight of the film. Now, as for the story, first I will say it was engaging and it was intriguing. It showed some creativity amongst certain stops on its very routine path. It was unpredictable at times, and for the genre it was fun but a very familiar movie, but I also think it was hindered by being a Cloverfield movie. I think it would have been much better served called The Paradox, or like the original script had intended, God Particle, and from there built its own world of films. This was adapted into a Cloverfield movie and it showed. The Cloverfield elements, they felt taped on and not woven into the story. It takes basically a monster movie concept and it tries to squeeze it into a deeper, much more intelligent sci-fi narrative, and it just doesn't work. This film sort of tries to structure itself the same way 10 Cloverfield Lane did, but it wasn't nearly as effective. That film really did feel set in that world despite being its own independent story. This one kind of feels like a standalone film in its own world with Cloverfield exposition. I thought all the tie-ins to Cloverfield just hindered this storyline from developing itself, and had the story just completely removed the plot line of Michael's character on Earth, there would have been much more time for it to develop all the plot layers. Instead, it just felt rushed, like it was trying to shoehorn in Cloverfield context, then trying to dump large concepts of its own storyline onto the viewer, so really it was just a God Particle movie that wasn't able to live up to its very ambitious potential, and a Cloverfield movie that was lacking in depth, which was really only solidified by a campy shot of the massive monster coming out of the clouds in the end. I did think the visual effects were very well done. There was a lot of awesome imagery. The exterior space shots were polished and they looked fantastic. The production design was loaded with a lot of detail. The interior of the ship had lots of depth to it and detail that provided a very immersive backdrop for a thrilling sci-fi movie. So for the aspect of the budget, I think it was put to good use because the entire film did look very crisp. And overall, I had fun with this one. It was certainly a B movie, and I'm going to give the Cloverfield Paradox 70% on the entertainment meter. It has some fun, it has some suspense, it's intriguing at times. It does show some creativity from a God Particle aspect, and honestly a lot of laziness from a Cloverfield aspect, but it wasn't all bad. Yet at the same time, this is a franchise that's not really on stable legs, so I really would have expected a little more urgency and effort. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Cloverfield Paradox. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments what you thought of this movie. And if you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can catch all the new reviews and talk movies with me. Thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, I definitely appreciate it. I'm Anthony, this is the Silver Screen Analysis, and I'll see you at the movies.